Part 1. The day my parents disowned me, the church was full. Sunlight poured through the stained glass windows, painting soft colors across polished wooden pews. It should have been a peaceful Sunday, but my hands were trembling as I stood near the altar, feeling every pair of eyes slowly turn toward me. I had always been the obedient daughter, the one who followed every rule, who smiled when told and stayed quiet when it mattered. But that morning, everything changed. My secret had finally surfaced, and there was no going back. It started when my mother stood up during the closing prayer. Her voice cut through the silence, sharp and controlled, but shaking underneath. She didn't look at me at first. Instead, she faced the congregation, her chin raised high like she was preparing for battle. Then she spoke my name. The way she said it made my stomach drop. It wasn't love. It wasn't even anger. It was disappointment, heavy and final. My father stood beside her, his face cold, arms crossed like a wall I could never break through. "She has shamed this family," my mother announced, her voice echoing across the room. A ripple of whispers spread instantly. I felt the weight of judgment pressing down on me. I wanted to disappear, to shrink into nothing, but my legs refused to move. My father finally looked at me, his eyes empty of warmth. "If you walk this path," he said, slow and deliberate, "you are no longer our daughter." The words hit harder than any slap ever could. I tried to speak. I really did. My throat burned, but no words came out. How could I explain something they had already decided was unforgivable? I wasn't a criminal. I hadn't hurt anyone. I was just pregnant. 22 years old, unmarried, and terrified. But to them, that was enough to erase me completely. The silence that followed their declaration felt louder than the accusation itself. Someone behind me gasped. Another person muttered something about disgrace. I caught the pitying look of an older woman who used to hug me every Sunday. Now, she turned away. My chest tightened as tears blurred my vision. I searched my parents' faces one last time, hoping, just hoping, for even the smallest crack in their resolve. But there was nothing. No hesitation, no love, just a clean, brutal decision. So I left. The church doors felt heavier than ever as I pushed them open. The bright sunlight outside stung my eyes, and the world suddenly felt too big, too loud, too empty. I had nowhere to go. No plan, just a small bag in my hand and a life growing inside me that I now had to protect alone. That day, I stopped being someone's daughter. I became something else entirely, someone who had to survive. The first few months were the hardest. I slept on a friend's couch until her landlord found out and forced me to leave. After that, I moved between cheap motels and a shelter that smelled like bleach and broken dreams. I worked wherever I could, waitressing, cleaning, even night shifts at a warehouse. Every dollar I earned went towards saving enough to rent a tiny apartment. It wasn't much, but it was mine. And slowly, piece by piece, I built a life from nothing. When my son was born, everything shifted. The moment I held him, tiny and fragile, something inside me healed. He didn't see shame. He didn't see failure. He just needed me. And for the first time since that day in the church, I felt strong. I named him Noah because it felt like a new beginning after a storm I never thought I'd survive. 2 years passed faster than I expected. Life wasn't easy, but it was steady. I learned how to stretch every dollar, how to soothe nightmares, how to laugh again. I stopped checking my phone for messages that would never come. My parents had made their choice, and I had made peace with it, or at least I thought I had. Then one evening, just as I was putting Noah to bed, there was a knock on the door. At first, I ignored it. No one visited me unannounced. But the knocking came again, louder this time, more urgent. My heart started to race. Something about it felt different. Careful not to wake Noah, I walked slowly toward the door, my mind running through possibilities. Maybe it was a neighbor. Maybe something was wrong. When I opened it, my breath caught in my throat. My parents stood there. They looked older, smaller somehow. My mother's hair had more gray than I remembered. My father's shoulders seemed to have lost their strength. But what shocked me the most wasn't their appearance. It was what they were holding. A diaper bag. Part 2. For a moment, none of us spoke. The air between us felt thick, heavy with everything that had been here, at my doorstep. The same people who had cut me out of their lives without a second thought now stood in front of me like strangers carrying something fragile and urgent. My mother was the first to break the silence. Her lips trembled as she tried to form words, but nothing came out at first. That alone felt unreal. This was the woman who had once spoken with such certainty, such unshakable authority. Now she looked unsure, vulnerable. My father shifted beside her, gripping the strap of the diaper bag tightly, like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. We need your help," he finally said, his voice rough and unfamiliar. The words hit me in a way I didn't expect. Not anger, not even satisfaction, just confusion. After everything they had done, after the way they had erased me from their lives so publicly and painfully, this was how they returned. Asking for help. I stared at them, searching their faces for some explanation, but all I saw was desperation. "What is this?" I asked quietly, my voice steadier than I felt. My eyes dropped to the diaper bag, then back to them. My mother clutched her hands together, her knuckles turning white. "It's your sister," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. My stomach tightened. I hadn't spoken to my younger sister, Emily, since that day in the church. She had been there, sitting in the front row, her face pale and silent. She hadn't defended me, but she hadn't joined them either. She had just disappeared from my life along with the rest of them. Hearing her name now felt like opening an old wound that had never fully healed. "What about her?" I asked, my tone sharper now. My father took a deep breath, like the words physically hurt to say. "She had a baby," he said. 3 months ago. I blinked, trying to process it. A baby. My sister had a baby. The irony twisted inside me, almost unbearable. The same situation that had led to my complete rejection had somehow happened again, but this time, they were here. At my door. "She can't take care of him," my mother continued, tears finally slipping down her cheeks. "She's not well. She left the baby with us and disappeared. We don't know where she is." Silence fell again, but this time it felt heavier. I looked at the diaper bag, imagining the tiny life it represented. A baby who hadn't asked for any of this. A baby caught in the middle of choices and mistakes, just like Noah had been. My chest tightened as memories flooded back. Lonely nights, fear, the overwhelming responsibility of being the only one there. "And you thought of me?" I said slowly, meeting their eyes again. "After everything." My father flinched. My mother broke completely, covering her face as quiet sobs escaped her. "We were wrong," she whispered. "We were so wrong." Those words should have brought me some kind of relief, some sense of justice. But instead, they stirred something deeper, pain that I had buried, wounds that hadn't fully closed. An apology didn't erase what had happened. It didn't erase the nights I cried myself to sleep or the fear I carried every day when I had no one to turn to. "I had no one," I said, my voice cracking despite my efforts to stay strong. "You threw me away like I didn't matter." My father's eyes filled with tears, something I had never seen before. "We know," he said quietly. "And we have to live with that every day. But please, this baby, he doesn't deserve to suffer because of our mistakes." I closed my eyes for a moment, taking a shaky breath. Behind me, I could hear Noah stirring softly in his room, a gentle reminder of the life I had built without them. He was my strength, my reason, my proof that I had survived. And now, another child stood on the edge of that same uncertain world. When I opened my eyes again, I made a decision. "Bring him in," I said softly. My parents looked up, shocked, almost unable to believe what they had heard. My father carefully stepped forward, holding the diaper bag like it contained something sacred. As they entered my small apartment, everything felt different. The past was still there, still painful, but something new had begun to take shape. I wasn't doing this for them. I was doing it for the baby.